first artist performed during our Vibrant Festival. Zohra Kassam is an artist and vocalist from Toronto, Canada. Though she does not speak Hindi, she loves Bollywood music, particularly vintage classics of the 1960s. Over the pandemic, she has been very active with virtual performances, and you can follow her shows on Facebook at Zohra Kassam Music and Instagram at Zohra Kassam. Zohra's art journey started with her parents' love of Bollywood music.
I was born in Toronto in Canada, and I've lived in Canada my whole life. And I was really lucky. I grew up with my parents who loved music. So my father, who grew up in East Africa, Bollywood music was always a part of his childhood and how he kind of retained his Indian culture. And when he immigrated to Canada, he took that Bollywood music with him, and the love that he had for music, he passed it on to me. And my childhood was filled with vintage classics of Lata and Asha of the 1960s and 1970s, and it became my favorite music as well. And as a child, I would sing along, and my dad would encourage me. He encouraged me to learn the songs, to learn the pronunciation. And this love for vintage Bollywood kind of stayed with me throughout the course of my life.
Zohra's earliest influences lie in the 1960s Bollywood era.
So I'm a huge fan of Asha Bhosle. And she's a Bollywood singer who was mostly prominent in the 1960s and 70s. And she's had a long and illustrious career that's even spanned to now. And I particularly enjoy her style of singing because she has a very specific and unique way of infusing character into her voice. So whether it's cabaret style or it's vampy, or if the song requires a certain sense of demurity, she kind of takes that character and infuses it into her voice. And she always sounds like she's having so much fun while she's singing, which is why she's one of my favorite singers and one of my biggest inspirations.
Music is everywhere, and Zohra is constantly inspired by it.
I'm pretty much always singing all the time. So while I'm cooking, while I'm working out, while I'm driving, while I'm cleaning. And the lovely thing about singing is that you can pretty much do it whenever you want. So I don't really look for inspiration to sing. It's more like I just do, if that makes sense. And my other favorite thing to do all the time is to listen. I love listening to new music. I love listening to new music. My friends who are musicians, whenever they put out new work, I like to listen to that. So I guess that's kind of the way that I look for inspiration.
For Zohra, there are no boundaries when it comes to creating.
So again, I think what's really exciting about art and about music is that there are no boundaries or limitations. So there's no real process, there's no recipe, there's no step-by-step. I think there's just being. And part of that, I think there's three elements to that. So the first element would be discovery. So kind of finding what you like and what you vibe with. And for me, that means listening to music, listening to my friends, making new music, and making new friends in the industry and kind of hearing their work. And next is doing. So this means actually singing, jamming out, again, jamming with friends, jamming by yourself, just looking for opportunities to jam whenever you can. And finally, improving. So pushing your limits, pushing your boundaries. In my case, it would be, how do I fix my sound? What's the highest note I can touch, or the lowest note? How long can I hold my breath for? Looking for improvements and refinements in my work.
The pandemic has opened up so many doors for international collaboration for Zohra.
So I think the last 2 years have been very, very interesting and unique. And I think the pandemic has really opened up avenues for virtual collaboration. And this has allowed us to kind of collaborate globally. So again, the ability to kind of collaborate with musicians from around the world internationally has expanded in a way that it kind of never has been before. And I've been really lucky to collaborate with so many musicians from around the world, literally from London to Houston to places in Pakistan and India. And just the ability to kind of create and maintain these new connections and to follow their work, I think that's been it has allowed me to kind of improve myself as a musician as well. And I think that's one way that the pandemic has really kind of affected us for sure.
Although it's been working great with folks internationally, Zohra definitely has a few favorite collaborators.
I've been really lucky to kind of collaborate with so many people, particularly in the last 2 years, and not just in the GTA where we have an incredible South Asian music scene, but from around the world. And I've been able to like kind of make friends with these people and work with them, and there's just too many to list. I think within the space of Vibrant Brampton and this incredible platform, I would have to say Asad Khan and Amin Jiwa, two of the most talented musicians that I know, and particularly my very good friends Mamta Sethi and Shrija Srivastava, two of the most talented female vocalists that I know.
Zohra hopes to continue the work she has started during the previous 2 years.
You know, throughout the last 2 years, there have been a few pockets of almost normalcy, and I've been lucky to kind of use that time to go back to my roots, which is live performing, and I look forward to that once again. But in terms of the pandemic, in terms of general preparation and maintenance, I make it a point to try to learn as many new songs as I can and keep trying to perfect my pronunciation. Like I said, I don't speak Hindi. And as you know, Bollywood music is largely rooted in Hindi. And I'm always kind of looking for ways and avenues to improve my pronunciation and my diction. And as I mentioned before, I like to push the limits of what I can do, push the limits of my voice. So for example, touching new notes, for example, improving clarity and precision in my tone.
If Zohra's work was put into a capsule today and someone dug it up 50 years from now, this is how she would want that person to feel.
So first one is that music has no language or method. And I think this applies to art in general. So for myself as an example, I don't actually speak Hindi, yet primarily I sing Bollywood music. And the ability to kind of sing in that language that you don't speak, there's so much expression that's involved. And I think music itself is kind of expression, and it's limitless and it's timeless. So that's one of the kind of messages that I would want to pass on. And the second message is that ultimately art is kind of what adds value to our life. And perhaps my life was made meaningful thanks to music. And I think that everybody's life can be made more valuable with the inclusion of art and self-expression. So these are the lessons that I would want someone to take from my work.